Hi everyone, my name is Philip and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to create your own Bitcoin solo pool. Before we can get our solo pool running, we have to first of all get a Bitcoin full node running on Ubuntu. I've created a previous video for doing this. I'll leave a link in the description below. So pause this video, whip across and get your Bitcoin full node running, and then come back to this one and we'll get the solo pool set up. Get yourself logged in. I'm using PuTTY to your node, and then we'll just commence doing all the normal things you do before installing software. So we're going to change into super user mode. We're going to ask app to update the software repository cache. Then we're going to ask it to upgrade the system software before we start. And finally, we're going to install the software we need to build the system. Now you'll note from ckpool's instructions, I've added an extra package here, pkgconf. I found I couldn't build it without this, so I've added this one in. Once again, I'll leave all of this in the description below. I've previously installed this, so it's quite quick for me, but it'll take a little while to complete for you. I like to run services in isolated user accounts. The previous video on how to install a full Bitcoin node, we created a group called BTC, so we're going to create a new user and add it to that same group. And because this software is called ckpool, we're going to create a user called ckpool. Now I've already got this user account on my system, so I get an error that exists, but you won't get that error. Now that we've created our ckpool account, we'll impersonate that user using the super user command. And then the next step is to download ckpool, which was written by Dr. Con Kolivas. I hope I've pronounced that okay. And we'll do that by cloning the Git repository where his code is located. Because I've already downloaded this before, it's complaining the directory already exists, but for you it'll go through and download all of the source code. And we'll change into the solobtc directory that Git created. ckpool was created using the automake environment, so we're going to use the autogen script first of all to generate all the dependencies and build files. Then we're going to run configure, and that'll create us a make file and do some other bits and pieces. And finally, we'll run make to build the actual code. We're getting close to doing our first testing, but first we need to get the Bitcoin core configured. So we'll exit back out to our existing user, which was our super user, and we'll become the Bitcoin core user. Next, we need to edit the bitcoin.conf file. Now I'm using the Snap installation. If you're not using Snap for your Bitcoin core, your file will be in a different place. I've sanitized my config, but you'll have an existing config that looks something like this. It might have an external IP defined. You might define your database size. We need to add these 4 lines to the Bitcoin.conf. So we need to enable it as an RPC server. We have to define an RPC user and an RPC password. Where I've got random password here, you should make up a random password. Don't make it too complex, as some of the other systems may not be able to handle complex passwords, but just some kind of random password. And ckpool is more efficient if we enable this option. So let's turn that one on as well. Now let's go back to our ckpool and start configuring that. So we're going to exit back and become the super user again, and then we're going to impersonate our new ckpool user. We'll change into the solobtc directory. Next, we'll preserve the original config file and we'll make our own one. Okay, time to create our new config file. I've put examples of everything in the description below, but this is what a sample config file is. So it's a JSON file and we have our BTC section. We point it to our Bitcoin core node. There's the account we've had before, RPC admin. Make sure you change random password to whatever password you used. Just a warning, if you make your password too complicated with special characters, it may fail. So if it doesn't seem to work, try making a simpler password. This causes ckpool to request a particular mechanism to notify us of new transactions. And then we have a couple of optional ones here. So BTC, if you manage to crack a solo block, it will put this text into that block, so you'll be preserved on the blockchain, so to speak. And lastly, we have the donation. Dr. Con Kolivas has spent a lot of time writing this software, and you can optionally make a donation if you strike a solo block, and this means we'll donate 0.5% of our block reward to the software author, and I think it's very fair considering all the time and years he's put into developing it. Now we need to return to the solobtc directory and give the code a test. So we just run source service ckpool, and we use -b to run it in solo mode. So this is what a typical startup should look like. Hopefully that's what you'll see. Alright, now that we've passed our initial testing, we'll stop it running with Control-C and we'll exit back to super user mode. Now we'll set it up to run properly using systemd, and we'll create a systemd unit. We'll create a new file in the systemd directory called ckpool.service. This is all in the description below, but just quickly rip through it. So we give our service a description name. We want to run it after the system boots into multi-user mode, and this service requires the Bitcoin D service to be running. So if you've set that up using like my previous video, you'll have that there. Otherwise you might have to change this line, and we run it in our isolated user environment using the ckpool user we created with the Bitcoin group, and we just say this is a simple service. If it ever dies, we'll reboot it, run it from the solobtc directory, and then we just run that same ckpool -b command. Once again, this is all going to be in the description below, but once we've finished creating our new service, we have to tell systemd to reload all the daemon files so that it can see we've created a new one. We ask it to enable ckpool to run at system boot time, and then let's manually just start it running so we can test it. So that will start it running, and now we can ask for the status of the service to make sure it started up okay and that there's no errors. We want to see that the service is active and running, and then this is some output from the daemon itself. We want to make sure that's running and okay without errors. You can check the log from the ckpool daemon by using the journal-ctl command, and that'll spit out the most recent part of the log. I know it's been a bit of a long slog so far, but we're getting pretty close. So the next thing we need to do is set up the log rotation daemon to keep the ckpool logs in order. So we're going to create a new file under logrotate.d called ckpool. This basically says to create the files with the owner ckpool, group btc. We don't care if the log file is missing or empty. Older copies after we've rotated them will compress them. We won't worry too much about the other options, but this will just rotate the log file every week and keep, I think, 4 copies from memory. Time to start mining. So this is a Bitmain Antminer S19, and basically you chuck in the IP address of your ckpool machine and using port 3333 and your wallet address. What I've also done is set up a backup pool. So what happens is Antminer will use pool 1 first. If pool 1 goes down, it uses pool 2. If that goes down, it uses pool 3. So for the second pool, I've used the ckpool solo public pool. Okay, so once you've got that all saved off, you go across to the dashboard. This one's been running for about nearly half an hour now, and you want to see that it's reporting that your pool connection status is normal for your solo pool, and you should be seeing the accepted share count here going up. You might get the odd rejected share, but you want to have the rejected share count fairly low. If this number is not fairly low, then something's wrong. So you can see this is mining quite happily to the pool. Another resource you can look at is the Bitbucket site hosting the source code. It's got quite a good readme with lots of information, build instructions and the like. It also has a readme just for people doing solo mining only and the steps required there. I'm hoping this video will contribute to Bitcoin mining becoming more possible for home people, to help increase the decentralization and to help it be able to withstand unseen future events that might take out large pools. I'm going to leave some other videos around my head, and I hope you might find some of those of interest as well.